Time to get back on track here. It's Wednesday after all, and normally we need a great cleaner. What?
Yeah, well, we do a cleanup batter.
Cleanup batter. There it goes.
We got it.
We need the roar. It is time for Daniel in the Deacon's Den. Good morning, Deacon Dan Brahier. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Ron.
Hello.
It's just so hard to say cleanup batter, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't know why, but this morning it appears to be a very difficult thing for me. We want to talk about Advent this morning, Deacon Dan.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but boy, this is one of my favorite times of the year at the start of Advent.
Absolutely. It is my favorite liturgical season of the year. It also tends to be one of those liturgical seasons that's very easily overlooked. You know, I mean, we have so much kind of build up to Lent when we have Ash Wednesday and we've got, 40 days and all the fasting and prayer and so forth. And Advent seems to just go so quickly because it's relatively short and it's right here sandwiched between Thanksgiving and Christmas when a lot of things are going on. But I was reflecting this week on, this week we're in right now. We refer to it at the University of VGSU as Dead Week. I don't know if you've heard that term before, but it's kind of a universal term across a lot of campuses. Dead Week means everything is kind of dead. Like professors are not introducing new content. Things are pretty quiet. There's no major projects due because next week is finals week. And so it's kind of that preparation for finals week. And so as I was thinking about that, it occurred to me that this last week of the semester is a time of preparation for the tests coming next week. It's a time of waiting for the end of the semester, and it's a time of hope for a strong finish to several months of work. And so those are the key words for Advent, preparation, waiting, and hope. Bishop Barron refers to Advent as a period of sacred waiting. In those terms, it is one of my favorite times of the year. And Advent has a really long history. It's kind of convoluted. If you actually dig into sort of the history of Advent, where it came from, it's a little unclear as to when various times before Christmas were being celebrated. But it seems to go back to the first couple of centuries. It's gone through a number of evolutionary changes to get to this 4-week period that it is today. But there was a time in church history, really almost for until about the year 1000, that it was considered a 40-day season of penance. And so they would start celebrating the kind of this Advent season early in November, and it would go for 40 days. And when I think about that, I'm reminded of St. Margaret of Scotland, one of my favorite saints. She was born in 1045, and she was the Queen of Scotland. She was known to be a great ruler, but she and her husband would set aside 40 days before Christmas, and they referred to it as the Lent before Christmas. And they would rise every night at midnight, and they would pray the office of readings from the Liturgy of the Hours, and then they would go down and leave the castle walls and go into the city and find 6 poor people, and they would wash their feet, and they would give them money. And then they would go back in through the castle and go back to bed. And they did that every single night for 40 days before Christmas. Isn't that cool?
That is very cool. Yeah. Well,
I mean, because
go ahead.
That was kind of their way of being able to prepare for Christmas, to do something significant and physical, to remind them that Christmas is about to arrive.
Well, and with that in mind, Deacon Dan, as we participate in this Advent, what would be your suggestion for Catholics in our approach to Advent?
Well, I think if we remember that Advent is intended to be a period of waiting, it's a period of patience, preparation, anticipation, hope, lots of words associated with it. It's really hard for us to sometimes enter into the season, because the Christmas trees were for sale at Costco and Walmart in September.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, to really focus on that, I put up my Christmas lights a couple of weeks ago. That day it was like 60 degrees.
Yeah.
But I haven't turned them on yet. They're up. They're ready to go. but I'm not going to turn them on this soon. It isn't Christmas yet.
Right.
We're still approaching it. So practically speaking, I think anything that we can do that helps to keep us spiritually and physically in the season. So definitely recommend an Advent wreath in our homes, and perhaps using daily prayers. There are books and websites that have a suggested prayer of the day for each day of Advent, lighting one candle each week or an additional candle to show that light of Christ coming. I always recommend using some form of purple to decorate the house in, using a violet, whether it be something like a tablecloth or, some type of splash of purple on the mantle of a fireplace or whatever.
Love it.
Delay some of the decorations of the house until just before Christmas. So in our house, if you look around right now on my prayer table and on the mantle, there is a stable, but that's all. There's no, I'll wait till next weekend to put some animals and a shepherd out. And then the weekend after that, I'll put Mary and Joseph out, and I'll wait until Christmas Eve to put Jesus in. So the idea is the decorations come. Sometimes people will put their tree up with the lights, but wait to put the ornaments on until a week or so before Christmas. Just delaying that a little bit. The music that we listen to, instead of jumping directly into Santa Claus is coming to town tonight, spend a little bit of time listening to Advent music. You can pull up playlists on YouTube or Spotify or wherever of Advent music that will have things like O Come Emmanuel and On Jordan's Bank and various songs that kind of put us in the Advent mood that leads into the Christmas songs that come later. I always recommend reading some kind of a book. I'm leading a book study down at St. Thomas More starting tonight, on the infancy narratives that Pope Benedict wrote. But they also have those little blue books that come from Saginaw. There are some great podcasts out there. Father Mike is doing one on Ascension's app, with just a few-minute reflection each day, but so that you're sort of engaging with either written or auditory inspiration every day during Advent. And then little things like, while standing in line, which we do a lot of during Advent, waiting in the store to buy a Christmas present, we tend to get frustrated. We always see angry people. I've been waiting in this line for 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
Instead of getting angry about it, step back for a minute and say, I can't change this. Like, I'm in this line and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to just take that time to pray. I'm going to pray for my family, for my friends. I'll pray for those around me who are lacking patience, of having to wait in that line. But it's a great time for prayer. You don't have to pull your phone out and start checking email. Just take a time to close your eyes for a minute and pray.
Yeah, that's a great
and then
idea because
some
it is
additional devotions.
I mean, it not only is the shopping season a season of waiting, Advent is a season of waiting. So if you kind of combine Advent thoughts while you're waiting, and you think, well, I'm actively participating in the waiting of Advent.
That's exactly right. Interesting you say actively participating, because that's a point that Father Mike Schmitz made on his podcast a couple of days ago for his Advent series. He said that, instead of looking at Advent as something we have to just like get through, instead to engage with it, to say it is a period of waiting. So let's engage with the waiting. Like, what am I doing while I'm waiting? So I'm going to read that spiritual book. I'm going to listen to a podcast. I'm going to pray in line. I might do an additional devotion, like attending a weekly holy hour throughout the Advent season. Maybe praying the joyful mysteries of the Rosary on a regular basis to keep recalling the Nativity and so forth. But things that actively engage us with Advent so that we don't miss it. So that we don't wake up one morning and go, oh my goodness, it's Christmas Eve, and I just completely forgot it was Advent, wasn't it? Instead to say, I'm going to engage with this time of waiting, this time of preparation. I always encourage people just to enjoy the silence. A lot of griping at this time of year about, the days are getting so short, and they are. But, there's something beautiful about it getting dark early. It just suggests that winter silence, that darkness that we enter into, that will ultimately be dispelled by the light of Christ at Christmas. And so don't let it pass you by. Engage with it so that Advent becomes a meaningful time, so that when Christmas arrives in 3 weeks, we're ready to celebrate with even more joy.
And I love those who say, look, I've got to get the Christmas decorations up now. I so enjoy having them around. I just want to enjoy them as long as I can. And then they take them down January 1st. I'm like, well, wait a minute. You didn't extend the season. You just moved it to an inappropriate time and ended it early. So
that's a recommendation I always give people is in the old church, the Christmas season went for 40 days until the Feast of the Presentation. We don't take our Christmas tree down until February 2nd.
There you go.
So we enjoy it from late in Advent all the way into the beginning of February. And, it's not a bad thing. You still get to enjoy the tree for extra time.
I love it.
Deacon Dan Brahier, wonderful thoughts on Advent. Thanks for that reminder.
You're welcome.